everybody, welcome back to the Gary426 channel. Today I'm going to go over some of the problems that I have found while trying to put this Hemi into this truck and the solutions to those problems. We're going to go ahead and start with the truck and work our way over to the motor so I can go ahead and show you everything that I have encountered so far and my solutions for these problems so that you know them yourself. Also, if you're enjoying this build series, please consider subscribing. So one of the first problems that we have is this is a mechanical pedal that drives a cable that goes to a throttle body, when the Hemi is a drive-by-wire. Okay, so I just want to go ahead and start off by saying that this video was originally recorded in late October, early November. It is currently February. That is how long it took me to get around to editing this video. You'll learn about that more at the end of the video. I talk a little bit about that and what the hell's going on. Besides all that, there's this thing called an APS box, or just APS. It stands for Accelerator Pedal Position Sensor. They were found on the 03 to 04 Ram 1500s with the 5.7 Hemi. Reason being is during that time period, there were more engine options that ran off of a cable than there were electronic throttle body. Dodge didn't want to change around the firewall or something like that, so instead they just used this sensor that allowed the pedal to have a cable. The cable would go to said sensor and then it would control the throttle from there. I have thought about using this sensor on my setup. I'm still not 100% sure if I will. I'm still not even 100% sure that I like the setup that I currently have. So stay tuned. I might go ahead and change it around. So my solution is I built my own bracket, which fits in perfectly. It does put the pedal slightly lower than where it used to be, but that's okay, not an issue. I drive multiple different vehicles with several different pedal configurations, so I'm kind of used to having to adapt. What I did is I took a piece of 1/8 inch thick by 3 inch wide stock, about 3 feet long. I obviously have cut it down, and I cut the original OEM bracket for the pedal until I got it to where I liked it, welded it in place. I could have done a better job on the welds, but it's also what happens whenever you're welding off of a generator. It's what it is. And I put this brace right here because whenever I installed this, I noticed that it flexed a little bit. In the process, I managed to utilize the original studs that were in the truck for the original pedal and the hole right here where the cable comes out for the original pedal. Due to this flexing, I managed to repurpose it, and I welded a bolt to my bracket here so that I could go ahead and put a nut onto the end, and it makes it super solid. Thanks to this little brace here and this up here, there's zero flex. I mean zero flex. So that is fixed. That's what I recommend doing, building your own bracket. That pretty much covers everything on the interior. Now, to the exterior. I had to do some shaving here and there. According to the directions from Holly, I had to cut down my control arm by about 3/8 of an inch on the front and back on the passenger side control arm only. The reason why I have to do that is so it'll clear the headers, and let's face it, you don't want to hit a bump and then accidentally mess up your $800 headers that you got. They're pretty nice. Hooker did a great job on those, but I mean, it's Hooker, what do you expect? I also had to modify the front driver engine motor mount bracket thing, frame mount right here. I went and I cut this out. The reason why is the oil filter for the Hemi goes here. And you have two options. You could go ahead and do an oil relocation kit, which is fine, costs a little bit of money. Or two, I really like that the oil filter is right here. It's very easily accessible, and I really didn't need to clearance it that much. Plus, with the oil relocation kit, there's a higher potential for leaks. I'm not saying they do leak, there's just a higher potential of leaks because there's more fittings and seals. I just went and I notched this out. There is more than enough meat here holding this motor down, so I am not worried about that whatsoever. Another thing that I have also done right here is these guys were shaped kind of like this, and it wasn't allowing me to get the motor in here. It was actually getting stuck. So what I ended up doing is I took my grinder, went in there and opened them up from this to this. So now it'll just drop right in and we won't have any more issues with that. Now on to the other thing. In the last video, I mentioned the vacuum reservoir, which if you haven't watched that video, go ahead and check it out up in the corner. This truck came with a vacuum reservoir because it was equipped with a vacuum actuated cruise control. When the cruise control was not optioned, obviously the mechanism that would sit right over there wasn't here, and the vacuum reservoir also wasn't there. Looking at all the vacuum diagrams and whatnot for the Hemi in a 2006, which I gotta talk about that here in a minute. It also did not have a vacuum reservoir. So I decided to go ahead and get rid of the vacuum reservoir, save a little bit of weight. Got rid of that hose right there. I did leave this here just to plug that hole, and on this end I just went, capped it, and put a stainless steel crimp clamp on it, which I recommend getting a bunch of those. They are awesome. Now that pretty much sums up everything that is going on over here. So now let's go ahead and move over to the motor, because there's a bunch of stuff to talk about with that. So off camera, I have been working on the wiring harness for this motor. Now from right here all the way to here, I still have not finished it yet. I'm waiting to get it into the truck to go ahead and continue it to that point. And all of this stuff right here, for the exception of 2 wires, is being completely removed, because this was for stuff like the MDS, don't need that anymore. Rear O2 sensors, don't need that anymore. I mean, I honestly don't even want to weld a freaking bung into them. And the EGR wiring as well, that's completely gone. I have also relocated one sensor, which is on the other side of the motor. I still have not finished it yet. This is for the vacuum leak detection pump. It sits underneath the battery in a Dakota, and on a 2006 Ram, it actually sits somewhere over here. So I had to relocate it out of here and put it over there. I have also gone and redone all of the wiring, as you can see here, with double wall heat shrink with glue on the inside. Really good stuff. And I used this sheathing, which is, believe it or not, good for 1200 degrees, or maybe it was 1100 degrees. This stuff is freaking awesome. It makes the wiring harness look professional. I made sure to do a really good job on it. I also have the other side done here. I spent probably about 2 days worth of all this, getting all this crap done. But as you can see, I really took my time and made sure to do the best job that I could possibly do. So, on to the next thing. If you are going to swap this is up to you. I got a dipstick from a 4.7, which has the 545 RFE. It is a little bit lower than a 2006 Ram dipstick for the transmission, which causes this problem right here. This will not fit anymore, which is fine. That's not an issue. I'm okay with that not fitting, because I don't want this. I think it's ugly personally, and it quiets the engine down. Instead, what I'm going to be doing, even though a lot of you are going to say this is overkill, I'm going to be getting a 4-inch pipe that comes off from my awesome K&N intake that was on that truck, that is no longer on that truck because that was for the P6. I'm going to be using the heat shielding from that, and I'm going to be using, hopefully, believe this is a 3.5 inch or whatever this is, to 4-inch elbow, probably do a 45-degree angle. Then I have to drill a hole into the pipe, get a grommet so I can mount my air intake temperature sensor. And over here, I have already found a small K&N air filter so that the crankcase can still breathe. So that's the fix for that. Over here on the transmission, I have half-etch NPT to 10AN 90-degree fittings on the inner and outer line. I don't remember which one's which right now. Doesn't really matter because they're going into a cooler. But this one right here, you're gonna want a 90-degree 10AN to hose, 90-degree hose end fitting. This one, you're gonna want it to be straight. This took me a little while to figure out. Doing it this way, having that one facing slightly down and this one facing slightly back, it makes it to where both the hoses can meet up together and go right down the transmission and engine, laying right up against it. There will be some heat shielding on it, so don't worry about that. And it gives it a good enough distance between the fitting and the exhaust. A good rule of thumb that I have learned is a good air gap is about 1/2 inch. If there's about a 1/2 inch air gap, generally everything will be fine. But there will be heat shielding on it, so it doesn't even matter anyways. One thing to also remember too about these transmissions is I have recently discovered by making a oopsies, there are 2 different types of transmission filters. There are 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive transmission filters. Most of the ones that you will find are for the 4-wheel drive option. It took me a while to find the stuff for the 2-wheel drive, and just take this as you will, get the OEM filters. You don't want to have to pull this thing apart in case something happens, and apparently the filters that are for the aftermarket for this transmission will collapse and fall apart and destroy your transmission, so don't do that. That's bad. Also too, for the headers, if you look right down in here, you'll see there's just a little bit of an 1/8 inch gap. I had to grind that down Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's part of the block casting. I'm sure it's not an issue. Over here we have more than enough room. And then that comes to this bracket right here. There's an issue with this bracket. I want to go ahead and state that I am using a 2007 transmission. Reason why is after 2006, all the 545 RFEs were built stronger than the previous, 2000 to 2005 transmissions, and I think the shaft is placed slightly different in those ones, and that's why the bracket will work on those years. But this is the fix for this one. I wanted to use a 2007 or just 2006 and up, because they are built stronger. And I will show you on this one. This is a OEM, brand new OEM, Dodge Dakota transmission selector cable. This cable came in all the Dodge Dakotas and Durangos, second gens, obviously, and it was equipped with every transmission option except for a manual. I went and I got the bracket from the same truck that I actually got the dipstick from in the junkyard, and I got this piece right here, which was also from that truck, thinking that the geometry might be slightly different. Turns out, not the geometry that I thought was different on it. Apparently there's a slight difference, but it's a very easy fix. If you look right here, you see that there's that notch right there. Well, that notch lines up with that spot right there on the shaft, where that gap is. Well, if you line that up there, this sits too far away from the shifter cable, which is a problem. Well, the fix, and it's very simple, is you take a small file, like this one right here, and you're going to cut a groove into that slot. Thankfully, there's still a marking on the front side where you can line it up, but you're going to cut a groove right in the center to make it just like all the teeth that are around it, and then you're going to move it over one tooth. That's it. You just move it over one tooth from where it originally was, and then it lines up perfectly. I've already checked everything. Perfect. No issues. One other problem that I forgot to say anything about until I was packing up and leaving, and I was like, oh crap, yeah, that thing. Do not do the mistake that I did. I went and I got a 2006 Ram 1500, which I thought would work great. I wanted to play around with the MDS system, and I really wanted the individual coils. I was not interested in doing the single coil and then a wire, and not even a little interested in that. And mostly for aesthetic reasons, and I mean, this is better. Clearly, it's just better. I wanted everything on this truck to work like it was from the factory, the gauges and all. That's not possible for 2006 ECU. So I pretty much have shot myself in the foot by getting a 2006. The solution to that is I have to repin my entire wiring harness for a 2005 ECU. Now, why is it not compatible? Okay, so during the recording of the original video, there was a little bit of information that I got wrong, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the correct information, because I'm an idiot. The 2006 uses a CAN bus system. The 2005 and 4 uses the SCI system, which is the system that Dodge was using from 2000 till 2005. You do not want to get a 2003 and below ECU, though. Those ones use a TCM, along with the 2004, I believe, also uses a TCM. I'm not 100% sure. But the 2003 is not tunable, unfortunately. So the real sweet spot is 2005. If you want the individual coils, go for 2005. You don't want that MDS system. Good thing 2005 didn't offer that. And your gauges, clusters, all that will work perfectly. I've actually already tested it. It works great. Talk about that more of another video. But try to stay away from 2003, 2006, 2004, 2005 will work. Those are all the issues that I have come across so far and that I have fixed. At least those are my solutions to them. If you guys come up with other solutions whenever you're doing your swap, go for it and let me know what you decided to do down below. Now, if you guys have made it this far into the video, I really appreciate it. On to a slightly different, or mostly, okay, completely different topic. I have been overworking myself a lot recently. Thankfully, this is stuff that I've already have dealt with and I've fixed. That's why there hasn't been consistent uploads at all. I actually caught myself being here in the shop like almost every day of the week and getting behind on a lot of stuff at the house that I need to be doing. Plus I'm working 3 jobs. One of them I am starting a very prosperous career at, but I have to work into it. Hopefully in a couple of months I'll be where I need to be. But I've just been getting completely burnt out, and I've been trying to stay with my own YouTube schedule that I made for myself. There are only like 351 of you that are subscribed to me and that are actually watching this crap, which I really appreciate you guys that do tune in regularly to my videos. That is pretty cool. And most of you probably don't even care about this anyways, but there will not be consistent uploads anymore. It's just gonna be whenever I could do it, whenever I could get it done. I'm just tired of being burnt out. I've been doing this crap for years, like years and years and years of just pushing myself and pushing myself and pushing myself, and haven't had any issues with that, like working multiple months in a row with no days off, and it's been fine, but it's finally catching up to me. So uploads are gonna be put up whenever I feel like putting them up, or whenever I get time to putting them up. I'm still gonna shoot for once a week, but don't be surprised if it's once every 2 weeks. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and get a big thumbs up. Stopping by for the first time, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I will catch you guys in the next one, which, by the way, the next one, it's going in for the last time. I swear it's not coming back out unless I blow it up. But yeah, it's going in. So catch you guys in the next one.